The Boys is back, and it is as the Boys has ever the boysed. We got violence, we got nudity, we got profanity, we got it all. But what's great about the show is that underneath all of the shock value is a really well written and performed drama. Anthony Starr's Homelander remains probably the best villain on television right now. Seeing this all powerful being that could literally destroy the world get pushed into a corner the way that he does this season is incredibly tense. He's absolutely terrifying, but seeing the way that he's written and the way that he's performed with all of these little nuances make him incredibly complex. Like, he's an awful person, of course, but even when someone like Stormfront dies, and you can see within Anthony Starr's performance that he genuinely loved her, it's like you even feel bad for him at times. And on the other side of the coin, we have Butcher, who's also a great character. We see him in the beginning of the season, and it looks like he's actually starting to change and evolve. While begrudgingly so, we see him working with Huey and Congressman Newman to fight the Supes on the right front, within the law. And he even considered giving all of it up in order to raise Ryan properly. And then the scene where he learns that Nadia is a Supe is heartbreaking because it came at the exact wrong time. And we see that downward spiral begin and just completely wipe away all the progress that he's made. And we see the same thing happen to MM, which is also heartbreaking. Kimiko and Frenchie are also interesting. Yeah, Kimiko is the character that I most want to see get a happy ending because she's just so precious. And her relationship with Frenchie is honestly just really cute. And then in these first 3 episodes, they kind of establish Frenchie as always having been a follower instead of a leader. Or not even a leader necessarily, but someone who just doesn't really think for himself. He doesn't take charge of his own life. And it's interesting because we see Kimiko kind of nodding him in that direction, kind of telling him like, hey, we don't need to be doing this. We could just leave. And I wonder if that's going to be something that's going to play out in future episodes. Starlight is also getting a very interesting arc. She was very empowered last season because she went through her whole Me Too moment when she exposed the Deep for what he did to her. But now in this season, she's kind of learning that it ultimately isn't mattering at the end. The Deep is back in the 7, and she's kind of getting Weinsteined again by Homelander. I mean, it's incredibly dark. And then we saw that flashback where she was dancing very suggestively as a child, which was very disturbing to watch. And it kind of establishes that she's been used her entire life, whether it be by her mom, by, the Deep, by Homelander, by Vought, and now, as is kind of happening in this season, Huey. And by the way, it's not even just this season, she was also manipulated when they first met. And speaking of Huey, because of what happens with Victoria Newman / Nadia, he's completely gone down the deep end as well. After discovering that Nadia, this person that he's been working with the right way to combat Supes, is a Supe herself and working with Vought, he's seemingly fully bought in on Butcher's way of doing things. And it's interesting because these first 3 episodes basically brings the boys back down to basics. Instead of being backed by like the CIA, they're underdogs again, and they're just guys who are mad at Supes. And in a lot of ways, that is the appeal of the show. In a way, it does feel a little cheap that we're kind of just going back to the way it was at the beginning, but at the same time, I just think they've done such a good job of justifying why these characters are at this point that I'm ultimately okay with it. And there are consequences here. Butcher felt the need to alienate Ryan. Huey's relationship with Annie is clearly being hurt in some way. And MM isn't going to be able to see his daughter until he finishes his quest for vengeance. The show also has a lot of pretty overt political commentary. And I would say that the show has been pretty left-wing for the most part, and it's directed a lot of its criticisms at the far right, but we do see them crack some jokes at the left's expense in this season as well. We see A-Train try to disingenuously use his race and culture in order to try to get social credit. The over-the-top inclusivity at that theme park was pretty funny. I wonder. I wonder if there's a reason that they released this during Pride Month, and if it has anything to do with like corporations, randomly changing their logos to like rainbow stuff for a month and then never caring about LGBT people again. And then on the flip side, we see that like like that wild like right wing gun convention or whatever. Also, Homelander is like pretty Trumpian. In episode 2, when he has that outburst, then he's himself and not politically correct, and that leading to his rise of popularity is actually pretty similar to what happened with Trump. But anyways, I'm really digging this season so far. I have to say, and I can't quite put my finger on why, but it's not hitting quite as well as the first 2 seasons. Like, I'm really enjoying this show, do not get me wrong, but I'm used to watching this show and being like, man, this is like the best show on TV right now. And that's just not, it's not hitting me in that way. That being said, I'm still really enjoying it, and I'm definitely going to watch the rest of it, and I really want to see where these characters go, where these plot threads lead. So don't take that as me saying that I don't like it. It's just that I'm not liking it as much as I used to, and I can't quite explain why. But let me know what you think about it in the comments down below. Also, like the video, subscribe, and ring the bell, and I will see you in the next video. Goodbye.